When
Sure.
I say who's trying to remove people from the internet, it's not like Nancy Pelosi. It's a particular sect of a group of progressive, more far left individuals who's trying to get people removed from their banks, who's trying to get people banned, who's arguing in favor of regulation that restricts speech.
In this video, Tim Pool and David Pakman debate identity politics. As you would expect, David Pakman is making an argument for identity politics, and Tim Pool counters by citing some of the authoritarian characteristics of identity politics. With that, let's watch Tim Pool shut down woke idiot David Pakman.
About, I've been physically attacked by the left, not the right. People are right now taking a quote from Vox.com to make it seem like I'm an anti-Semite so they can get me removed from my bank account and stuff. That's not coming from conservatives. It never has.
That's fair. That's totally fair. But I guess what's important to me...
I will go through these videos, though. I will. So forgive me.
And I actually don't need you to do an accounting of each video. For me, it's more, if I look at your channel and 85% is criticisms that are what I would consider relatively niche in terms of their existence on the left, it doesn't strike me as someone whose priorities are center left to say, here's what I think 85% of my channel should be.
But here's the thing. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard denounced identity politics outright with Michael Tracy. She said straight up, it's divisive, it's bad for us.
Okay.
Identitarianism is one of the biggest things that I have a problem with due to my family history being, I know it's kind of a meme, but mixed. And this comes from... When we look at affirmative
action... But Tim,
action,
isn't that identity politics? You're saying your view on this is informed... You're against identity politics as informed by your identity.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'll put it this way. I am not permitted the left nor the right allow me an identity. So what that does is it kind of ostracizes me. And what I find recluse, not recluse, but what I find safe harbor, I guess, is the fact that the U.S. actually had protections against discrimination based on race in these things. So for me, someone who's experienced it from both directions, I'm apprehensive towards either direction. When I have the left telling me I'm a white male and the right telling me I'm a mudblood, like I'm not going to be happy.
Fine, but Tim, so I have the left saying I'm not Jewish, I'm white, and I have white privilege, and I have the right saying I'm not white, I'm Jewish, and Jews are a race that is really bad, and we should be really... So the fact that...
I hear you.
But that doesn't make me all of a sudden say I'm going to do 85%.
So David Pakman's asking, why would 85% of Tim Pool's channel be criticizing what he calls niche causes or subjects on the left? It sounds like reason number one is similar to Anna Kasparian. The left makes his life harder than the right does, and they attack more and they're nastier, which, as much as Democrats would like to convince everyone that that's not the case, it just is for anybody who pays attention to politics. As a matter of fact, identity politics is part of how they attack people. They assume everyone by skin color or gender or by sexuality is part of a group. They don't look at individuals. This is the party that screams racism at the other party, at the right. And I have a deeply held belief that all of the talk about racism, throwing that word around carelessly by the left, is pure projection. I think people on the left have some weird feelings about certain racial groups or minorities or marginalized groups, and they assume that everyone else feels the same way they do. So they project that onto the right. And the biggest moment I saw in the clip thus far that I think people will be probably divided on in the comments is David Pakman saying something to the effect of, you're using identity politics to criticize identity politics. I just don't see it that way. Tim Pool was talking about his personal experience. He wasn't speaking for an entire group, and part of his personal experience has to do with his race or the fact that he's a mixed race person. I don't think that's using identity politics. I wish Tim would have pushed back on that a little more, but let me know in the comments. I can understand how people would see it either way, but I don't think Tim was using identity politics at all. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Some of my videos and criticize the left, you know what I mean?
No, I think it's what you personally find important, right? If you watch any of my videos, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Subject matter doesn't dictate politics, simply because you've got you know, who's and again, it's my opinion, but when
Sure.
I say who's trying to remove people from the internet, it's not like Nancy Pelosi. It's a particular sect of a group of progressive, more far left individuals who's trying to get people removed from their banks, who's trying to get people banned, who's arguing in favor of regulation that restricts speech. It's not conservatives and it's not moderate Democrats.
Okay, but a lot
And
of
so
your
that
stories
that
don't
freaks me
relate
out.
specifically to that issue. But let's not belabor it. I do find it sort of
Yeah.
interesting, though, that in the same sentence that you said you're against identity politics and that's why you like Tulsi, you made an identity politics argument based on your identity, which strikes me as a contradiction of sorts. That
Well,
was weird to me.
there's the support of politics based on someone's identity.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
And the support of opposition to that, right? I don't, and let me make clear, some identity politics are absolutely a good thing. It's identitarianism that's a bad thing. So
Okay.
maybe that's so. I tell people this: authority is a good thing. Like when a doctor tells you, "Hey, there's someone injured, put your hand on the wound." That's true authority. You'll just do it. You know they're right.
Okay.
But authoritarianism is a really, really bad thing.
Hmm.
So telling someone in our society you cannot factor in race in terms of public accommodation, that's a violation of civil rights. I like that. When you say we're absolutely going to factor in race, I don't like that. So it's nuanced, I guess, right?
And does anyone who's saying that we have to factor in race when it's not a relevant factor?
The ACLU, when they supported affirmative action at Harvard, which lumps all Asians, Indian, Chinese, Laotians into one category, and I find that offensive as an Asian person. And so when I come out and say,
but Tim,
One thing Tim Pool kind of touches on is that a lot of the things that Republicans criticize the left about are not from the Nancy Pelosi's of the world or the establishment arm of the Democrat Party. They're from the far extreme small contingent of the party. Unfortunately, while they're small, they're very loud, and they get a lot of press and news coverage because the causes that they're advocating are so ridiculous. It's like a bad car wreck. You have to look at it. And the news knows that will get views. And people on the internet know those ridiculous causes will get clicks. Since I'm a little slow, it took me a second to understand Tim's analogy about authority and authoritarianism. But I thought he made a great point. Laws that protect all groups of people to have the same rights aren't necessarily a bad thing. I think they're pretty much a good thing. But when you start changing standards for different groups of people or suggesting that certain groups of people should get preferential treatment or reducing everyone that you see to their racial group or their gender or their sexuality, that's a problem. And I can't believe David Pakman said, who requires that you view everything through the lens of identity? That's such a bad faith question. I mean, how about a large number of our top educational institutions in this country? How about a lot of large companies and medium-sized companies that institute affirmative action or DEI? Those are all examples of folks being told that they have to judge things based on a group's identity. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
That's an identity to say you should be able to argue whether it's offensive or not offensive, right or not right, without saying because you are part Asian. You find like that's identity politics, which you claim to be against.
I agree. And I think the clarification then, I think what we're discovering here is that it's not so much the core idea of identity politics, it's the application of in ways that either is reductive or authoritarian.
I really like Tim's argument in this clip, but I do think he could have done a better job at articulating it. But what do you think? Like I said earlier, I could see legitimate arguments for both sides of this conversation. So let us know what you think in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. As always, we really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you on the next one.